Hi there, welcome back. I'm Felipe, your crazy creative designer from Germany. Design alchemist is what I like to say. Today I just wanted to approach and make a quick video on something I was thinking about related to price buyers. I already made a post about price buyers. Maybe feel free to check it out. It's one of the videos in my channel where I talk about this archetype of clients, which are probably my least favorite type of clients. But anyhow, what I wanted to talk about today is about the design pricing system. And I think it's totally broken. It's totally messed up. And it's not an exception, I guess. I think it's very, how to put this? It's quite ubiquitous for this phenomenon of broken pricing systems and tiers in the creative industry, as much as it pains me. And I was thinking the other day, like I had a talk with a designer colleague of mine, and he got into this topic about customers not valuing the output and wanting the money back, or not even paying for the entire work because they didn't like it. And I think that's absurd, and it's happened to me. It's happened to me. It's happened to him, and I believe it's part of the learning, right? Learning curve as an entrepreneur and as a free independent designer with your own company. So it's part of the learning process of how to deal with different clients and how to deal with different people. So it's also happened to me totally 2 times, I believe. But fortunately, I was pretty blessed in that respect. I only had 2 or 3 issues with clients in the last 4 years or so. But one of those was a big client, though, and there was a lot of money that I lost. But to go back to this point, like this, I don't want to pay you because I didn't like it. That's absurd. I mean, you go to a movie, you pay the movie, you pay it even before you watch the movie, not one part before, one part in the middle, and one part at the end. So you don't do milestone payments for going to the cinema and watching a Hollywood movie or whatever movie you want. And then as you come out of the movie, you'll say, "Oh my God, it was a terrible movie," like Barbie or like Transformers, which is just horrendous, absolutely horrendous. You get out of the cinema and you're like, "Hey, I didn't like it. I want my money back," right? Or you go to a restaurant and you order something, and except for cases where the food is truly spoiled or rotten, then you eat your meal and then you don't like it. Then you're like, "Hey, I'm not gonna pay you guys." So there are lots of examples of, or also you can contract a painter and he paints a wall, he paints a painting, and then you're like, "Hey, I don't like it subjectively. I'm not gonna pay you for that." So if you think about those examples, and there are lots of those throughout, scattered in our daily lives, if you stop to think about it, it's absurd. The clients even have the audacity, honestly, to believe the designer is not entitled to payment because they didn't like the output, or at least part payment, depending on your contract, depending on what you guys settled on in the agreement that you guys have. But mostly in general, it's an absurd attitude. So you should totally stay away from those types of clients. And well, as in every other job, there is the differences in the salary and the income that people make regardless of talent. You can be a newbie, make a lot of money. You can be an expert and make not that much money. I would say I personally am somewhere in the middle in there. I don't think I'm the most expensive, but definitely not the cheapest option. But yeah, so there's a huge latitude, right, in terms of income. But I believe there's also an additional phenomena when it comes to the creative profession, because you get something that is tangible, something that is visual, that you can actually see, the result. That is very special to the creative industry in general, I believe. And So you're plastered on your homepage on Facebook or on Instagram with creatives, or let's say you go to Pinterest to find some example of a logo that you like in order to generate or to fine tune your own logo, and you see it, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna recreate this because I just have to draw, right? So you get a pen, and then you're like, I am going to Mario's Pizzeria. That's the name of your business, and they're like, okay, you put an MP, and you set them apart, and then they're like, hey, done, right? Like a little Canva template. But then if you go to a professional and you're like, how much is the logo? And the professional tells you, oh, it's at least 500 euros to 5,000 euros, depending on the background, on everything, on the layers that are below it, that underpin it, so the visual, there's some type of disproportionate relation between the visual, which is what you see at the end, the visual output, and the work that goes in there. So the output is concrete, but the work is abstract. But it doesn't change the fact that professional designers, such as myself, that they have taken a very long time to learn about design, to learn about the theory, to have so much experience in dealing with different types of output, and get pretty good at what you do. And for some reason, there is this disconnect, the mismatch between, just in this example, the logo, which can be very simple, and the know-it-all client, right? There's also the know-it-all client, which is the next archetype. He is like, hey, but I can do this myself. And then you can like, okay, do it yourself. I think it's very disrespectful, because in terms of other services that I hire, you go to get yourself a haircut, and the hairdresser, and you're like, hey, I can do this myself, so do it yourself. Feel free to do it yourself. Or do some copywriting. They're like, okay, I can write a couple of lines, or ask ChatGPT, and there you go, right? So there is a very big, huge mismatch and a huge crevice between the abstract and the concrete output, and I'm not really sure why it is, but I believe maybe the ease of access to those industries has been lowered, and the quality has been so diluted, and we have the bad players who are like, hey, I'm gonna do a logo for €5, diluting and reducing your value, or everybody's value, as part of this profession, right? This is not a phenomenon unique to design. This happens everywhere, but I have seen it increase a lot in the design niche, in the design industry, and I believe it's to do with the ease of access, I guess. And you're like, everybody can be a designer, everybody can be a copywriter, everybody can be a marketer. You can just start picking up the phone and cold calling people today, right now. Do it right now in the scope, and then you're like, okay, I can do it myself. So I think it's the ease of access that has lowered the entry barrier, right? Logically, and that has led to this consequence of making the output less graspable to the client, or more seem more straightforward. So the top of the iceberg, which are the 10% above, they have become diluted among the sea of service providers, and so clients will be happy with this top 10%, which is what everybody and anybody can do by using, for example, templates. So they may be content with this 10%, but at the end of the day, you pay a designer for much more than just execution. You pay a designer for new ideas. You pay a designer for their experience. You pay a designer for their equipment. You pay a designer for their opinion and eye and attention to detail. You pay a designer not only for the soulless creation of the visuals, but for something of lasting value, that generates value, that is complementary to your brand, and actually touches and plays with the heartstrings of the target audience, and maybe broadens the target audience, you know? So it's in accordance with your brand, with your image, with your message, with your communication with your audience. This is what a good designer does. And this is what every good service provider does. They go way beyond just the execution part. They become a little guide, they become a little counselor, right? So to speak. They become a little Yoda. And the Yoda's there to teach the Padawans on mastering the Force. And while, for example, I don't like too much to teach per se, I do like seeing people improve. That's fantastic. And I have a Webflow course, very complete course, which I'm going to put in the description below. You can check it out if you want. But in general, like in my day-to-day activity, I don't like to micromanage people. I hate that. I think it's this hidden 90% that we have to emphasize more. We have to come out of the shells a little bit more and start demonstrating concretely in a manner that can be grasped and understood by the client and by other fellow designers. And this is the tricky part, right? To go way beyond. But the attitude of a good service provider, I believe, is to want to go beyond. They have to want it, as I do. I don't like just doing things. I like to do things for a reason. And I like to do things because I believe in reaching specific goals and connecting with similar minds, connecting with various other minds. So yeah, my little rant, I apologize if it gets too long. I think it's a very important topic. And I think the way we can defend against this is by showing our 90% below the surface talents a little more, to put them out there, to say, hey, this is part of a larger strategy or structure or plan. It's all part of a bigger plan, as they say, right? So when you're dealing with a client, tell them this is what goes into it. Not only, yeah, okay, I'll do it, you know. Go through it, explain to them, position yourself as somebody who knows what they're talking about. That's the part that is tricky, and that's the part that sets you apart. You are the product, don't forget that, and the client is the product. And it's always a partnership, or it's supposed to be a partnership. So go out there, respect the industry, represent the industry as somebody who does good, who creates and generates lasting value to themselves, to the client, to the audience, and actually to the entire world. So yeah, got very meta here at the end, very philosophical. But I hope the message is clear, what I want to say, and I hope maybe this helps open your mind a little bit to this ubiquitous issue that we have. And I hope that by doing that, we can advance as people. The future belongs to humans. It does not belong to machines. I truly believe that. And I truly want to live that every day. So yeah, if you like it, if you're here, if you're new, give it a like, give it a subscribe. I talk about this stuff all the time. And I also give practical tips on how to improve yourself as an entrepreneur and as a custom creative designer, where I hope I can generate some lasting value to you as well. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching this far. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.